Every smile hides a secret, and some of them are deadly. Welcome to Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, featuring retired FBI Special Agent and Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke.
Another thing that's been brought up quite a few times, and it may just be speculation because it looks weird, but in the context of everything else, it doesn't. It looks like, well, this should be looked at closer. Kim Porter, his former longtime girlfriend, mother of 3 of his children, found dead in Los Angeles at the age of 47. This was several years ago now. That was back in 2018, and it was ruled flu-like symptoms. It was some sort of natural cause, basically side effects of pneumonia is what it was ruled to be. After being sick for a very short period of time and then dying. Otherwise known as a fairly healthy individual, fairly young as well, vibrant. That stuff does happen sometimes, but this just doesn't look quite right, especially if we understand if she was the partner of him for quite a while, she knew a lot. Cassie knew a lot. Anybody who spends a lot of time with him in any sort of romantic sense, and I think that's a very loose use of that word, knows a lot about what he's into and what he's able to do. There's a book that's coming out, and the family, Diddy himself, is saying, and so as the kids, this is not her true memoir. This is all made up. And it could be. There's a lot of people going for a money grab right now. Just 60 pages allegedly from her diary. It spells out basically the same things we've already heard from Cassie and many other people. I don't even think it needs to be real to probably be true in terms of the overall content of what life was like there. And everybody's going back to the autopsy and saying, well, it was this. Like, we talk about many cases where autopsies are not done well or correctly or influenced by someone with a lot of money and power from people who are far less prominent than Diddy. I don't think it's a far stretch to think that, and I'm not accusing him, but it's a possibility that, this cause of death may have been exactly what Diddy wanted them to put down, so that's what they did.
So, I've been waiting to talk about this one.
All right.
Keep me chomping at the bit on this.
All right.
So, as a behaviorist, anytime we see something that deviates from a pattern of normality that happens routinely, it makes me go, ooh, let's look at that. So here we have a 47-year-old, reasonably healthy individual that dies of lobar pneumonia. So, as a behaviorist, I say, what the hell is that? How common is it for someone to die of that? With no comorbidities, the types of things I said, if you caught COVID, you had formerly, comorbidities, which gave you a higher percentage that it's going to affect you really negatively.
Sure.
You're going to die. So someone, a normally healthy person, roughly the age 47, the likelihood of death from that is under 3%.
And I'm guessing probably could have gotten some of the best healthcare in the world, being who she was with him.
So the next step I do is, what other things could make it look like pneumonia?
Yes.
And so there's types of poisonings that do happen that can make things look like pneumonia. And so when you're conducting a normal autopsy for death, you're not going to necessarily look at the gastrointestinal system the same way that you would if you suspect that it's been foul play. If there's foul play, you look at those things. Otherwise, you tend to not to. I've covered cases before where things have had flu-like, pneumonia-like symptoms and people have died pretty rapidly from a poisoning. Again, like you said, I'm not saying it. All I'm saying is that only 3%, under 3% of people of this bracket that she was living in, from what we see, you don't know, she could have had really, really bad behaviors, alcohol, overindulgence, alcohol consumption, inhalants, and all these other things can cause the same type of illness. But it's a very, very rare occasion where someone dies from it. So that's the only reason I took a look at that, because it's rare.
And this wasn't even the COVID period either,
right,
where it was a mix with COVID. Like, that is shocking. And here's the kicker on it too. And I just looked this up while you were talking. Cremated. Surprise, surprise. There ain't no body to go take another look at now, is there? Is there information that would be out there that they could look at all? I mean, I suppose they've only did so many type of medical tests on her. If they assumed right away it was lobar pneumonia, they're probably not checking for poisons or things of that nature. So there's really not going to be a real clear way to determine her cause of death. I mean, unless there's some extenuating evidence, emails, digital evidence or something about him talking about something like this in a nefarious way of murdering her, just speculating, that would point to it, I guess.
It's really difficult at this point because you don't have a body to examine. You don't really have much to go on. The thing I'd be looking for, well, you're right on my train of thought. The only thing I thought of asking myself is like, all right, if this is what I thought it was back then, what would I do as an investigator? I would look at 24 hours prior to her coming down with the first symptoms, what she consumed and who was in her life at the time. And I'd just start with that.
If that can be even found out. I mean, as far as what
I know that, and that's why I'm saying at this far out, we have smoke.
Yeah.
And so I think as an investigator, they have a lot, as we've said before with Diddy, we got smoke in a lot of places. And so this might just be another area to look at the smoke to see if there might be sparks of fire in there that you could actually pursue. I think it's going to be a hard press for them to pursue her, her death as a criminal thing. But I think it might lead them down to it, because remember, if her death was not accidental, the likelihood of other people, knowing is high. The likelihood of other deaths being accidental is low. So again, she might be helpful in her death, sadly, to hopefully bring down Diddy in other ways.
Well, I mean, it seems, he led a very insulated life, but within the insulation of that life, he did talk. He shared a lot of stuff with people and was pretty, flagrant with it, including what we talked about earlier, filming, an essay, an assault on a woman, and sharing it. So I guess I don't think it's really above him that he wouldn't have communicated something within his, digital footprint with somebody about it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think anything could possibly be there. It's got to be horrible for those kids right now. I mean, obviously there's some that are just, they're like mini scumbags that have also participated in some of the alleged assaults and things of that nature. And we've heard that. But I think there are probably some that really don't have anything to do with it. To try to wrap your mind around that, all these accusations against your father, and try to accept it, believe it, don't believe it, and then add this on top that your mom died under these bizarre, and people are going back to that under these kind of weird circumstances, to contemplate that your dad could be capable of these sort of things. I think some of the kids know, but I don't know that they all know that he was capable of this sort of stuff.
It's an interesting question always that we see with families and kids involved in really abnormal behavior like this. We saw it in the Murdoch, Alec Murdoch, as well, in his kids, well, one surviving kid. And that is, this is normal to them. Mm-hmm. This is all they've ever known as a family, as kids, as children. And so now from there, think about this, your own thought experiment. When you're at home growing up, your mom's food is the only food that's good food. The way you sleep in bed is only a good way. The only thing you do and play with your toys at home, that's normal. You go outside, and the first time you do a sleepover visit a friend's house, it's a new world, and you think they are wrong.
Yeah.
It's all back-ass wrong.
Yes.
And so same thing goes on here. So here's the Diddy world, very insulated, very protected. This is their norm. This is all they've ever known. So when you have people from the outside coming in, to them here, it's the enemy. They're full of lies. This is what normal is. They're all just crazy out here. And so one data point of them saying my dad might have murdered my mom, they're crazy anyway. Yeah. So see, it's the psychology of their norm, their context is going to make everyone inside that circle and sphere of control, one, not share, because there's two reasons not to share. One, you don't believe it and it's your normal, and the other is fear. So the first thing I'm going to have to do as investigators is lift the veil of fear and expose them to, this is the hard part, so that their life that they were living is not healthy. To them, it is healthy. And that's where the real mind screw happens.
There's so many people affected by this one man in such horrible, horrible ways. And such a public figure that got away with these things for so many years. It's still shocking every day. And again, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. New things coming
I do too. It's shocking and it's a shame. Think about we keep going back. Just think of the good he could have done.
Yeah.
That's all
Well,
he had.
he bought 1,000 things of lube from Costco. So he helped enrich Costco a little bit. And the attorney, do you hear this one? The attorneys, of all the things the attorneys, because there's not a lot I think he can speak on that really puts him in a good light. But for some reason, his attorney thought it'd be a good idea to say, no, he just buys in bulk. Real thing.
That's what you do with Cheerios, man.
Nobody buys 1,000 Cheerios even.
I guess if you're feeding a cult, you would.
Maybe. Wrap that one there. I was like, oh my God, why are you even saying this out loud? He buys in bulk.
All right, true crime addicts, let's cut the crap. You're knee-deep in the gory details of your favorite podcast when suddenly a commercial hits like a bad meal. Seriously? You deserve better. Upgrade to True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, where you can binge without those annoying ads. Plus, get extended interviews that go deeper into the darkness and early access to episodes so you can be the first to know. It's like trading up from fast food to fine dining, but with more blood. So, go ahead. Search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and feast on the good stuff.